Hey class, it's Ashley, and I'm back with another mentoring moment. And today I'm going to talk to you about the price you pay when you stay too long. The price is going up, but not in a good way, because your emotional health, your physical health, your mental health, your well-being are all challenged when you stay too long. When you stay in a role that you know is no longer serving you. When you stay interacting with the boss who you know is regularly gaslighting you and belittling you. When you stay in a role where you are making very little money and having very little impact. When you stay too long, the price you pay is immense. And I really want to challenge high-achieving women to be thoughtful about the psychological price you pay when you stay too long, when you stay stuck, when you don't shift. When you stay committed to a role that's not committed to you, when you stay committed to a role that is not really serving you in the ways that you desire, when you continue to make excuses for your employer, for yourself, for your family, for your boss, when you continue to make excuses for them about why they're not showing up for you, why they're not serving you, why you're still there, when you continue to make excuses and rationales of why you allow people to pay you very little, for you to stay stuck in a role that you know is no longer serving you, to stay in a situation, in a job that you know where you're not really driving real impact, there's a psychological price that you pay, and it is immense. And so on today's live, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the price you pay when you stay too long. I'm going to talk about the price you pay when you stay stuck. I'm going to talk about the price that you pay in your salary, in your health, in your well-being, in your joy, in your impact, in your passion, in your purpose. There is a price, and the cost is too high. And I think so often high-achieving women don't recognize the cost. They don't see the detriment. They don't see their self-esteem waning. They don't see their credentials being watered down and being washed away. They don't see the psychological toll it's taking on them, the imposter syndrome, the shame, the guilt, the second guessing. Like, they don't see all of that. And so they think, well, I'm just stay another year. And as soon as this happened, and as soon as I finish school, and as soon as, the kids go off to pre-K, and as soon as this and as soon as that, and we start to make these continued excuses that don't yield results, right? Those excuses don't yield results, and the cost is going up, right? The cost of staying stuck continues to go up. And one of the things that is so a part of my heart, and it's so a part of my sort of expertise and reason for being, is to really help high achieving professional women make more money and have more impact, so that they don't have to pay such a big price for being stuck in a role that's no longer serving them, to be stuck under leadership that's no longer serving them, to be stuck in a place that is not aligned with their values and not aligned with their skill set and not aligned with the things that they desire to do in their life and career at this stage. And so I'm so thrilled that you're watching today's live. I'm so thrilled that you're here with me today. And I'm so excited to talk about that psychological cost, that price that you're paying, and how it compares to other costs in your life, like how it compares to salary, how it compares to the longevity in a role. Like, we're going to talk about all of that today, so that we can really dive into this cost, the hidden cost, right, if you will, of the psychological toll it's likely taking on you and your well-being. And that's just a cost that you can't afford. Like, I don't care how rich you are. I don't care if you in the 6-figure salary club. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a cost you can't afford. And I know you can't afford it, because so often I have high achieving women coming to me and saying, Ashley, I'm so unhappy here. I'm depressed at work. I have been talking to my therapist about work for years. Like, I know the price. I know the cost, right? Like, I know the cost. I hear it all the time for high achieving women. And if that's not something that's you've really thought about, you're in the right place today, because I'm going to talk to you about the cost. I'm going to talk to you about the cost of staying too long, of staying stuck, of not taking action in your career development. I'm going to talk to you about the cost, and together we're going to start to unpack, right? Like how we can move from this thing that's costing us so much to actually making more money and having more impact in our career. How we can move away from you paying a high cost and a high toll in your current job or current industry or current boss or current organization, literally ruining your career. How we can move you away from that cost and actually help you drive action in your career development. I'm so excited for this conversation. So let's dive in. So the first thing that I want to sort of talk about is time in role, right? So I would say, typically my mentees, I would say on average, my mentees come to me after working for at minimum 5 years, right? Most of my mentees have worked in industry for at least 5 years. Not all of them, but most of my mentees have worked in industry for at least 5 years, right? So, I would say probably 80 to 85% of my mentees have bachelor's degrees. About 75% of my mentees have master's degrees. I serve very high achieving, like well-credentialed women. And most of them have also worked, right? Most of them have also worked for a minimum of 5 years. So over the course of 5 years in your career, like that's a long time. I mean, 5 years, it might seem like it, blink of an eye, but it's a long time. It's half a decade, in 5 years, a kid can be in preschool or kindergarten, right? 5 years is a really long time. So when you think about 5 years, 5 years in your life, a lot can change, a lot can happen. You can grow a lot, you can shift a lot. 5 years is a really long time. And we know that when it comes to health and well-being, 5 years in your life can change. I know, what was going on in my life, in my mind, in my body when I was 27 was really different than when I was 32, right? The knees was a little softer, and, the body was a little softer too, right? I didn't have that hard body that I had at 27. 5 years is a long time. And it's the same with your mental health, right? Over the course of 5 years, you could experience, extreme joy and happiness and pure elation. In 5 years, you could also experience a lot of grief and sadness and sorrow. In 5 years, you could be, humming along, not really doing anything, not taking action in your career. In 5 years, a lot can change. And so when you think about the continuum, and I'm actually going to share a photo of this just so I can illustrate it. I shared this on my feed as well today. When you think about the course of, let's just say 4 or 5 years, the psychological price, right? Especially if you're in a role that you are unhappy in, if you're in a job that's not paying you well, if you're in a job that you don't really enjoy, right? 5 years is a long time to be doing that. And what I often see, right, is that the psychological price that people pay, that women in particular pay when they're in roles that they are not happy in, the first interaction is typically with their boss or supervisor, right? What ends up happening is that women have interactions with their bosses or their supervisors, and it's they have an interaction where the boss doesn't listen to them, where the boss doesn't take them seriously, where the boss disregards them or disrespects them in a public space, right? They have some interaction with a supervisor or a leader in the organization, and that's the first sign of oh my goodness, what the heck is going on here? Your boss ignores you. They gaslight you. They lie on you. They take some of your work for granted, or they take credit for your work. Any number of things in that first year, there's some issues that come up with a boss or supervisor, and you're wait, did that just happen? And that's the first sign of the psychological price. When you start to second guess yourself, when you start to second guess, wait, did that just happen? Did he just do that? Did she just do that? Am I tripping? Is that okay? Is that how work is? Were they supposed to treat me like that? You start to question your own reality, right? Did that just happen? That's often the first blip of your boss, took something for granted. They didn't, they don't value you. They don't believe you. They don't trust you. They don't advance your ideas. That's where the first piece of point of frustration often comes for high achieving women. And then, right, you may be brushing under the rug. Maybe your boss, pats you on the back for some other thing you do, and you brush it under the rug. You're oh, you know what? Never mind. It's okay. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm not going to trip off of that, whatever. You start to kind of second guess that experience and you go into, you keep moving forward, right? And your salary, right, is like the moral injury or the psychological price that you're paying, the issues that you're experiencing with your boss or supervisor, those are going up, right? The issues are going up. The frustration, the anger, the resentment, that's going up and up and up. But you know what's not going up? You know what's not going up? Your salary. Your salary is not going up. What is happening is that you're experiencing a lot of trauma, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of disillusionment at work. But your salary, honey, you see that line at the bottom? Your salary is like this. Your salary is flat. Maybe you get the 2% raise. Maybe you get the 3% bump, but you're experiencing high moral injury or like issues of morality, where basically your employer's values and the way they do things is not aligned with your values and the way you desire things to be done. And so the issues of frustration and anger and resentment and disappointment continue to rise while the years keep going on and the salary is being maintained at the same rate. And so then over time, what happens is that you start to withdraw, right? You start to withdraw, you start to be depressed, you start to be frustrated, you start to be disillusioned. This is when, and I talked about this in a previous live, this is when a lot of professional women start to get into the it is what it is energy. And just throw some hearts up on the screen if you've ever at a point in your career been on some it is what it is energy, right? If you've ever said that about work, if you've ever been like, oh, it is what it is, ain't nothing I can do about it. That's just how they are here. That's just what it is here. If you've ever experienced that, just throw some hearts up on the screen. I just want to know if you've ever said that, if you've ever felt that way about work. Like that's common, right? Like that is so common. You start to get into that, that second year, and then you're like, what it is what it is. I thought I was only going to be here for a couple of months. Now I'm stuck here. The economy, the panty, ain't nothing I can do. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yes. And that's a very common phrase. It's a very common misnomer that I'm hear from high achieving women. And it's not because you don't desire more. It's not because you don't want to do more that you're even not skilled to do more. It's because you don't know what to do next. You've maybe been job searching. You haven't gotten callbacks. You've been looking at transitioning industries, but you're not sure if your skill set will make the cut. That feeling of it is what it is basically a sign that your career is failing and that you don't know what to do about it, right? And the truth is that there's no shame in that. Like lots of high achieving women in particular are in that space where they're like, yeah, it is what it is. I'm just gonna have to wait until I finish school. I'm gonna have to wait until I go back to school. I'm gonna have to wait until the kids go back to school. I'm gonna have to wait until my husband moves. I'm gonna have to wait until, we pay off the house. I'm gonna have to wait till we buy the house. I have to wait. You start to pause your own progress. You start to pause your own desires by saying it is what it is. And that's a sign that you're in deep shit. Like, honestly, that's a sign that there's a real problem. If you start saying it is what it is and you stop caring, you start getting depressed and disillusioned around work, that's a sign that there's a real problem. And that's a sign that the psychological price that you're paying is taking a toll on even what you believe about yourself. Because once you get to the it is what it is phase, that says to me that you're struggling with self-belief. You don't even believe in your skill sets anymore. You don't even believe in your ability to advance your career. At this point, you sort of given up on yourself, right? And so from there, the psychological price continues to rise. Because what ends up happening is that your performance begins to decline. And your performance begins to decline not because you're not good at your job, but basically because you're like, I don't even care about this job no more. I'm just gonna phone it in. I'm gonna do the bare minimum. These people don't care about me. I don't really feel like doing all of this. These people ask for too much. I don't really have time for all of that, right? You start to make up excuses about why you're not doing your job because you're so disconnected from the work. You're so disconnected from what it means to do meaningful work. You're so disconnected from actually driving results. Because at this point, you don't care. You're like, I don't care. They don't care. This don't matter. And I'm trying to get out of here, right? And I get that, right? I really do get that. I think a lot of women are like, you know what? I don't care anymore. They don't seem to care about me, so I don't care about them. But the problem is the psychological price you pay there is that those marks of you're not doing a good job and you're not performing at a high level, and those marks against you on your file or your record at work, that starts to hit at your self-esteem. Because sis, I hear you saying you don't care, but I know you do care. I know that now you do feel shitty about your performance at work. And now you are starting to second guess, like, am I even really good at this anymore? I thought I was good at it, but like now my performance is slacking. I'm phoning it in. Or you're like, you're not getting called back. You're job searching, you doing the work and you're not getting callbacks. And so now it's like, dang, like, you know, like maybe I'm not good at this industry, or maybe I need to switch industry, or maybe I need to go back to school. You start to second guess yourself and everything because now your performance is lacking and your employer is taking notice, right? And so the psychological price you pay is continuing to rise. And you can see that that salary line is remaining flat. Right? So you're not making any more money. You're not having any more impact. You're still in this job. And now you're depressed, sad, angry, frustrated, annoyed, disappointed. And honestly, at this point, you're disengaged. You're basically not even doing your job anymore. You just phoning it in, barely like, you know, pretending you even care and just trying to hang on until you find a new job. Right? I know that this is true for so many of you, right? And I know this because I have served hundreds of women in this same space. You are not alone in this, right? And that final place of the psychological price that you pay is that then you start a job search and it's unsuccessful. And then you're stuck year after year after year after year after year, right? And now you're like, I'm just so frustrated. I'm just out of it. You know, you have a glaze over your eyes. You basically are not even like with it anymore. You let all these years pass since you got your last degree. You've let all these years pass since you got your last credential. You're trying to do professional development to gain new credentials, but you don't even know how to use the credentials and the degrees that you already have. And so now you start to second guess yourself. Imposter syndrome is heightened in your psyche. And now you're just so frustrated and overwhelmed, you don't know what to do. There is a real psychological price you pay when you stay in a job too long. When you stay too long, when you don't get out, it affects your self-esteem, your self-worth, your value. The price is too high. You can no longer afford to stay stuck in a role that you know is no longer serving you. You literally cannot afford it. And of course, I'm talking about from a financial perspective because you can't afford to make $50,000 anymore. Not with these kids, not with these rent rates, not with this mortgage, not with these back to school price of clothes. You literally cannot not afford it from a financial perspective, but you already know that. I've done that video before. Right? I've done that video before. You can't afford to make $50,000 anymore. You know that. But I think what maybe you don't know is that there's a psychological price, honey. For your self-worth, for your self-esteem, for your self-efficacy. You can't afford that either. You are like, your worth is immense. Your value is immense. The things that you have to offer the industry, your field, your clients, your customers, your students, like your value is immense. But the longer you stay stuck in a job that you hate, the longer you start to second guess if you'll ever get out. Right? You start to second guess if you'll ever get on the other side of it, if there's any hope for you. And I'm so glad that this visual is resonating. I took a lot of time working on this. I worked with my design team on this for like several days because I really wanted it to be plain, honey. I want it to be plain. I have a PhD in education. I know how to teach and train, right? But I want it to be plain for y'all. I want to create no confusion. You don't need a PhD to see this. The price is going up. Your self-esteem, your self-worth, it's going down. You're stressed, you're anxious, you're overwhelmed, it's going up. Your salary is staying flat. The problems are rising. You don't need a PhD to read this chart and know that you need help. And now I want to tell you that the cost like is too high and it's not hidden anymore. You knew you weren't making enough. You see the direct deposit. You already knew that. But maybe what you don't see is this lack of self-worth. The fact that you don't even want to get out of bed anymore. The fact that you don't even want to get dressed for work. The fact that like you don't even care how you look no more. Like the fact that you snapping on your husband and your kids and your best friend because you just unhappy in general because your work has sucked the literal life out of you. Maybe you're not seeing that part, and maybe you keep making excuses. Well, as soon as I graduate, and then maybe I need to go back to school, and as soon as we move, and as soon as the cost is too high. You cannot afford to stay here anymore, right? And Custom Nature says, I float through these emotions day to day. It hurts my spirit when I see high achieving women who I know can do more, stay stuck in a role that is no longer serving them, stay stuck in a role that they hate, stay stuck in a role where they're being psychologically abused every day. Some of y'all, work situations is like an abusive relationship, flat out. Some of y'all being gaslit every day at work. Some of y'all have supervisors who are talking to y'all any kind of way. And that's not okay. But we cannot stay stuck there. It's not your fault that they're not a good leader. It's not your fault that they're not treating you well. It's not your fault that they're not serving you and showing up as a leader as they should. That is not your fault. But it will be your fault if you stay stuck there and you allow the psychological price to rise and for you to continue to stay in a depressive and angry and frustrated and annoyed and overwhelmed state. That will be your fault, right? And this is not just about being happy and living your passion. This is about your well-being. I'm talking about, like I said, I already did the video about you can't afford to make $50,000 anymore. I already did that video. Y'all already know the cost of staying stuck in jobs from a financial perspective. I already did the whiteboard chart, honey, on that one. I'll link the video later. I already did that video. This is about your well-being, your psychological health, your ability to believe in yourself. Like, if you lose that, like, what do we even got? Like, what do we even have if you lose your ability to believe in yourself? If you allow an employer, a supervisor, a coworker to tear you down? The psychological price is too high. The salary is too low, and the problems are continuing to rise. We cannot stay stuck. And what I want to share with you is what's available to you through the work that I do is mentorship to help you move from where you are to where you want to be in your career development. Your mental health and well-being is priceless. And we can start to do some of the repair of that while we help you find and secure a new role. While we help you find and secure the next step in your career development, we can also begin to repair some of the ways in which your current employer or a past employer has really broken you down psychologically. And what I want to invite you into is that, one, that's not your fault, right? The brokenness that you're currently experiencing is not your fault. And two, that repair is available. Repair is available, right? Freedom is available. Doing work that you love and being paid well for it is available. Not having somebody gaslight you is available. Having an employer who respects you and values you for your expertise, that's also available, right? A lot of career development, a lot of my work is literally getting women to believe that where they are doesn't have to be where they have to be, right? Like I think people get that, like, oh, I need to find a new job, but like, I think sometimes they don't believe that it's available to them. Like, they don't even believe it's available. They're just like, it is what it is. It's not what it is. This is what it is. This psychological price of you being completely stressed out and overwhelmed, these people gaslighting you every day, the salary staying flat, that's what it is. But it doesn't have to be that. More is available to you. And if you know you desire more, I want you to apply to the accelerator. I'm accepting new mentees right now, and I'm so excited to serve you. I'm so excited to help you realize the other things that are available for you in your career. This isn't it. This is not it. This isn't all that there is. This isn't it. And I'm so excited to serve you and help you walk into what's next for you. Thanks so much for joining today's live. Go to mentor-me.org to apply for the accelerator. And I'm excited to help you get on the other side. Thanks for watching.